I was a kid that was different from everyone else. I was diagnosed with epilepsy after I had my first seizure when I was only 3 years old. At a very young age, I was developing much slower than the other kids around me. When I was in elementary school, my preschool was called Copper Beach. And one day, my parents dropped me off at school, and I started looking at pictures from a book. And when they came back later in the day to pick me up, I was looking at the same pictures. My teachers were trying to figure out why this was the case, and this is where I got my first neuropsych testing. After the testing, I was diagnosed with many different things. I was put on the autism spectrum, diagnosed with reading disorders, speech disorders, fine and gross motor difficulties, and social disconnection. This created frustration with my family because the doctors were just giving me multiple diagnoses and labels, but were not providing much help or services. This is when I started attending the Mason School, which was a public elementary school in West Roxbury. They had agreed to give me occupational therapy, physical therapy, speech therapy, and put me in a social group. My family recognized that I had multiple roadblocks and obstacles with my cognitive issues, so they wanted above all else for me to maintain a positive attitude and mindset. I was a very happy kid, but I was a very happy kid by myself because of my social disconnection. And I was different from all the other kids, which led to some bullying and teasing because of how I was leaving school for all these different therapies. I was seen as different. Even with the doctors who were helping me, they were putting labels on me, putting me in a certain box as autistic or a kid with many different disorders. They gave me little advice how to help me. While all of this was frustrating, my family did not have a roadmap to help me because of the complexity of my neurological issues. So they focused on doing everything they possibly could to keep me happy and positive. And I believe that is one of the most important things that was cemented in me early on, because that helped me become who I am today. My parents realized that Mason was not working because the administration said I could not leave school an hour a week for my different therapies and social connectivity learning, because I had to take the MCAS, which is the mandatory standardized testing in Massachusetts, in third grade. And currently I was only in first grade. This is when my parents decided to look for a new school that had this support and help built into the curriculum. We looked at countless different schools, both public and private, but not a single school would take me because of the diagnoses I had and how I was different. They would not give me the help I needed. After looking at countless schools, we found the Tobin School. The day I visited and saw the Tobin School was one of the first times in my life that people outside my family looked at my history as something that can be helped, instead of set in stone condition that could not be overcome. I was able to be happy and positive in an environment that also gave me the help and support that I needed. I did not feel like an outsider or an outcast. While I was always happy, I had already accepted the fact that I was different. And the people around me at Mason School treated it as a bad thing and something I should be ashamed of. At Tobin, I was in a community where I was able to be happy and get the help I needed with all my obstacles. I went through the rest of my elementary school years there, and when I graduated, I was able to feel confident and secure with myself, even with my differences that were never going to go away. I knew that was not a bad thing, but I had that affirmation confirmed with the people around me for the first time, which was huge for my confidence and being secure with myself. Then the process of looking for a middle school began. The standard option was the local middle school, but my parents did not want to send me there because while I had improved, I still had social disconnection. So my parents decided the local public school would not be the right choice for me. The goal was to find a school that prioritized social and emotional learning, and also to use that optimism and positive mindset that I had from a very young age to give me an experience that highlighted the importance of social and emotional learning. This is when the idea came to my parents to start a school, which was the idea that completely changed my life. They decided to start a school for me and my sister and other families that were looking for a school that would prioritize social and emotional learning at the same level as academics. At this school, I was able to improve these skills while also in an environment where I was able to feel even more confident with myself. Also solidified my mindset that there was nothing wrong with me. I was just a kid that did not think and act the same, and I started to think of it as less as a problem, more as just who I am. It was an uncomfortable feeling for a while, and to an extent it still is. I had not experienced this acceptance before, and sometimes I would feel like the odd person out, either because I don't interpret things like everyone else, or I have to think about things for longer before I can understand certain concepts. It has not been easy to be positive about my situation. There are times where it frustrates me, but I try my hardest and have always tried my hardest to keep a positive attitude and mindset. Because I've realized that how I have persevered and stay resilient and confident with every going on was because I was hyper conscious of the benefits a positive mindset and attitude can have. After spending 5 years at the Tremont School, which was the name of the school that my parents created, I felt much more confident and secure, but knew that what I had learned and experienced at Tremont was fantastic, but I wanted to take those skills to go to more of a traditional private high school. And that was when my journey began at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. The value of Chauncey Hall was good for me, but it was not always comfortable. I was very overwhelmed and confused for a little bit being at Chapel Hill Chauncey Hall. It was all very new to me. It was something that I improved a lot at, but I can't say that I ever got used to it 100%. I did feel I was a lot more prepared for college, but it was a large adjustment socially and also academically. Looking back, it was the uncomfortable adjustment I needed, and I'm glad I went, but it also gave me lots of experiential learning about who I am socially, what I need to work on, and really who I am as a person. Tremont School was very comfortable in the fact that it was known of my situation, and the teaching was more tailored for me in that sense. I knew that I needed this uncomfortable adjustment to grow and also improve, and while Chapel Hill had its ups and downs, I realize now that it was the correct decision. I was going through a lot emotionally at Chapel Hill because of the new environment and stuff going on around me, but I was very adamant that I did not want to share my situation in detail with my classmates and teachers. I wanted to be in a situation where what I had learned in a more traditional setting. And while this choice that I made was not telling people the full extent of my situation, even if I did share with people other stuff that was going on in my life, it was a choice that was very hard in the moment, but I do think was right for me. I did make some mistakes, but making those mistakes and learning from them made me drastically improve my social skills and as a person. While the experience was not always positive, I'm glad that it happened. While this may seem like a negative chapter as the way I'm presenting it, that is not the case. I learned so much socially and emotionally. I also made friends that were great for me, and one of them who's attending con with me, and we are still good friends to this day. Being in this uncomfortable situation was critical for me. It was a huge part of becoming who I am, and it was all part of my growth, negative or positive. I'm grateful that it happened because it reflects how I've grown and what I've learned. Even if there were hard times and some important life lessons that were not always positive, I understand the value of that and it has made me a much better person. Going to Connecticut College has been great for me. I love the school, but also the feeling that I have about going to college and being independent is representative for me about all my growth. At 3 years old, I was diagnosed as an epileptic, an autistic kid with many different disorders. All that I have been through, all of my achievements, all of my mistakes, all the times I did my best to be positive, even when everyone was telling me to be negative. It all is important to who I am and where I've gone. I'm very proud to share this part of my life, and I want to thank TEDx for giving me the platform to share my story. If you get anything out of this talk, I want everyone watching to realize that in life we go through all kinds of things, positive and negative. You will have times you will be proud of your choices and times where you will not be. Times where you are happy and times where you are sad. Remember that all of it is important to becoming who you are. You cannot control how or when these things happen. All you can control is your own behavior and how you learn from these things. How to remain positive, because in my situation, even when things have seemed the most negative, the best choice I ever made was to be resilient and try to remain positive.